What is up, Rotogrinders? Dean here. Dean 78904 is the daily fantasy handle that hopefully we will see somewhere near the top of some contest. We almost saw it last night, Kirk Dees. It was close. We made a little bit of a push. I think number 20, somewhere around 20 in the Fanduel Super Mega Grand Slam contest, which they ran last night. Almost got there. Sal Perez, but the rest of the Royals kind of crapped out on us. Joined today. It's going to be an intimate show at the start of the show. It's just myself and Kirk Dees, Chris Kirkwood. What's up?
Did you say intimate show?
Well, it's just the two of us. And then soon enough, shortly, we're presuming that Chief Justice Will is going to be joining us. The schedules have just been all over the place today with the way the slates are working, with the cancellation. Oakland was supposed to play at 6:40 last night or 7 o'clock last night, but Oakland moved their time up to 6:07. DK dropped them. Fanduel kept them. The Fanduel locked tonight at 6:07. I don't know why Oakland's messing with their times. Nobody's going to their games. Did you want? They had like 3,000 tickets sold. They should just play like 2 a.m. What's the difference? Yeah, what a terrible franchise. It's awful what's happening there in Oakland. They're going to be in Vegas in a couple of years, right? That's like the worst kept secret that's happening.
I'm not sure, Dean. You tell me.
Well, there you go. Somebody, I was getting my shoe shined, and somebody let me know. They tipped me off that they're going to be the Las Vegas Athletics soon enough. So yeah, just kind of a weird schedule. And then of course the Cubs in Tampa, they moved their game up a half hour because of pending rain. And I don't even know if that's like good enough. We'll see. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, of course, is going to be on later. We'll let you guys know what's going on there. But I guess there's pending weather later on in the game. And they moved it up a half hour so they can get an extra half hour where it's dry. We'll see. So DK booted that one off the slate, Kirk Dees. Now we're down to 5 games on DK. Fanduel, of course, was including those 640 games. LA, that's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim at Houston, the Yankees at Detroit, St. Louis at the Marlins. So we have 2 slates. We're going to break them both down. Actually, we have 3. We got Kid Yahoo here. You can talk some Yahoo. But Fanduel's got 10 games. And they're starting at 6:07. DK is down to 5. We're down to 5 games on DK because they had 7 and 2 got moved, and they're not budging as far as their lock time. Their lock time is at 7:05 or 7:07. And Kirky's Yahoo is, we were talking about this before the show. That's even more different because it includes the Oakland game, but not the 640 games, correct?
Correct. So that's at 6:07 as well, but it only is a 7-game slate. So we don't get the Yankees or Alcantara, which kind of made the whole slate interesting. But I think it's a mess. I wish we could just have one uniform time. People like their patterns, right? Like they go, especially a lot of people who actually have to go into work, come home to work and play and things like that. I just wish that they would be kind of uniform. They're 2 completely different slates.
Yeah. And there's, we'll talk about everything as far as, positions and all that, but like on DK, you got to roster 2 pitchers, and the pitching pool is even worse than Fanduel, where you can roster 1, and obviously you have many more options. We'll talk about that, and that's going to really severely raise, I think, the ownership on Carlos Rodon, on DK specifically. Going to make for an interesting conversation. Hey, your Celtics play tonight. We got plenty of time, though. We're here till we're going to be relieved by crunch time. It's Dave Potts, CheeseIsGood. You guys know him. As well as TJ. TJ is going to be on crunch time. I believe they'll be joining the show about a half hour before Fanduel lock. I have this written down here somewhere. There's no reason to leave the stream. It's kind of the point. Around 5:25, 5:30, Kevin Roth will come in and give his weather report. Y'all got 2-time millionaire winner Dave Potts, CheeseIsGood, as well as TJ giving their takes as far as the baseball slate. And of course, they'll cover both Fanduel and DK. And again, at some point, we're going to have Chief Justice Will coming in our stream soon enough. But yeah, there's a lot going on as far as trying to balance the slates, but really there's not a lot like analysis wise, right? Correct these. There's no cores we have to talk about that's going down right now. There's no incredible offense. The weather's not good anywhere. It's just a lot of just like, okay, right? Like, and this, what you want to plant your flag where you want to plant your flag, and so be it. But I don't know. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down every possible angle, whatever the chat wants us to talk about as well. But I don't think that there's a lot of, I mean, there's analysis, of course, but especially on DK where it's a 5-gamer, it's more game theory than anything is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, Fanduel is like, it's a completely different slate. Fanduel is like a good slate. You're right. I mean, we've got a lot of options. We've got a lot of pitching options, which is really makes the slate great. I mean, we got Rodon at the top, who's been incredible and looks to be incredible. Basset Hound is just going nuts, and he's a solid pitcher. But then we've got a nice little tier to keep going down. We got Severino, who looks to be back, right? Like he's impressed so far this season. Maybe there's a little bit of pitch count, but he should be up there around similar areas. And then there's Sandy Alcantara, who I love, who's going to put it all together shortly. Hasn't quite put it all together yet this season. So I'm expecting a massive, one of these days he's going to have a massive start, and I'd like to be early on it. But he's a legitimate ace. You got Logan Gilbert, you got Shohei, and then you could even go down to Erod. So there's a lot of options on FanDuel. On DraftKings, not so many options. Plus, we only have 5 games to kind of attack. So it's kind of it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on what to do with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. We'll talk about it. We're gonna go around the horn. We give our favorite pitchers. We'll talk about stacks. We'll give out some homers. We'll do all the things. If you guys are watching us in chat, and I'm sure people are kind of sprinkling in because we're starting a bit early. So some people may not even realize. Some hosts may not even realize that the show is starting at the time it started. So yeah, that's why we're kind of having this conversation at the top, and then we'll dive in and break it down soon enough. I do have a thought as far as the DK, like overarching thought is that basically, and this is kind of like how the season's gone too, and this is blasphemous according to some people, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it too. Short slate, only 5 games. There's no amazing spots. The weather's not great anywhere, and home runs are down this year. What I'm getting at is like, the more games, the more likely one team is to score 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 runs. The more likely you need that stack. The less games, the less likely there's a team to go off. So I think one of my ways of attacking tonight is not going full-fledged like 5-man stacks. Maybe it's 3-3-2, like that kind of thing. That's my general approach, because I don't know if a team's going to put up 12 runs tonight. I'd bet against it if I could. It certainly can happen. And if it does, hopefully I have the right 3 guys. Do you have a thought on that as far as like stacking this year, or just in specific to tonight, or just that, again, DK and FanDuel, kind of different conversations a little bit. FanDuel, of course, you're going roster 4 anyway, but what's your general thought in that, what I'm proposing here?
All right. So I talked about this today, actually, in chat with some people. Well, so a couple of years ago, when I had my best MLB season, I was like one of the few people that was like stacking is less important this season. And that was when we had the juiced baseball, home runs were going, we're flying. So it was really as simple as, and we had a huge amount of strikeouts, but a lot of variance between pitchers. So it was as easy as, okay, just pick the strikeouts and pick the home runs. Easy game, right? Like,
yeah.
And, stack some organically, but I wasn't end all be all, or maybe, 5 mans on DK or the norm, do a 3-man or a 4-man, and those are fine. And I actually, this season, what's been happening, right? Well, home runs are down. Well, there's rumors that it's because of the humidor with the balls, or it's also the de-juiced baseballs is a theory. We don't know yet, right?
Let me ask you this, just not to cut you off, but like, if you're Major League Baseball, don't you have to be self-aware that, home runs sell. Like people like,
it would be the dumbest if the ball. That's why I have to.
Why would you dejuice a baseball?
I have to believe that the ball isn't actually dejuiced. It's just something to do with the humidor and the fact that the weather isn't working. We don't have the good weather yet.
Well, why even have the humidor if that's going to suppress homers too? What's the benefit?
Well, I think there was actually it was going to actually increase homers in some spots.
Okay,
was a theory. And I just don't think the weather has allowed that yet. So I don't know. To me, I think it's probably more the spring training. It's probably more the fact that it's early and the weather hasn't been good weather. We get all excited about a 70-degree game over on the West Coast, and that's like really just below average baseball hitting weather. So
like the Rays just having a game in Tampa where like it's controlled temperatures, the ballpark's not great, but at least the ball's not going to die because it's 30 degrees out.
Yeah, but it's like, so we get it. But all long story short is what I'm saying. I'm going to give it a little more time. But at this point, I'm thinking that, so it's more important to find the 5-man stack, that one game that goes off, because, Brian Hayes, could put up 14 points without a homer by just keep singling and doubling and RBIs and things like that. And that's helpful right now. I mean, that's the nuts right at this point in the season. Because we're not having these double dongs or massive home run spots, especially on some of these, big bat teams. But so I'm tonight, long story short, is I think that, stacking is more. Normally I'd be with you and be like, less stacking is fine, or organically, Chop is like that too. Chop actually had a show with Blender and they kind of argued it out. Right. And Chop's a huge, I'm not a stack guy. I let it come organically on plays that I like. And then he got second in the Fanduel contest that night for 15K. Chop. So nice. I can't argue with him.
Me and Chop, by the way, it's like the gift. Like, did we just become best friends? Like me and Chop have that similar thought.
It might be an olive branch. You might be able to throw an olive branch around this.
Well,
stick together.
Yeah, I've always been a proponent of I understand the correlation. I'm not a dope. I get it. And I know it's even greater on FanDuel. I understand all that stuff, but I think sometimes when you're adding like the fourth or fifth bat, that's clearly inferior to I have the money to get Juan Soto as a one-off. That's sort of my thought process. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, and it's 6-man on Yahoo. It's 6-man stacks over there.
Oh, you ever get
won? I did. I won. I only max entered one baseball contest so far this season there, and it was on Friday night because the prize pool was decent. It was 10 grand to first, and I took it down with a 6-man Angels stack.
What have they been doing with their prize pools? Because I'm seeing like 33% pays, and I'm kind of clicking on it, but everything pays 1.5 times or 2 times their entry, and
it's always different. It's all different. So on Friday. So to me, I think it's because of whenever they have 2 sports going, like NBA and MLB, they just make the prize pools lower for each, and they make smaller contests for each. So it's really annoying. So, but on Friday nights, it's usually better. And once NBA playoff kind of dies, I'm hoping that baseball shoots up over there, but we'll see. I don't know their plans.
Hey, are you going to go to a Celtics game?
In this series, probably not.
Well, this might be the only series. You never know.
I think they're going to win this series, but we'll see. But it certainly feels like a playoff. I mean, this is certainly a playoff atmosphere already.
That game.
Not playoff, championship. It feels like this is it, the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what it feels like.
It doesn't feel like game 1 of the opening series, the opening round of the playoffs. That was an incredible first game.
Yep.
All right. By the way, we should mention, if you guys are playing golf this week, I don't know if you're playing golf or not, you have access to all the golf perks, but if you do not have RG Premium, you want to get a peek at some of the golf stuff, you can get STL cards, Justin Van Zuten. He's giving out his premium golf GPP article that is available today at Rotogrinders.com. Feel free to check that out. I don't know if I haven't talked to marketing and I have no idea, but it seems like every day we're giving away a new piece of content. Yesterday, we gave away some hockey stuff. The previous day, we gave away the expert survey for baseball. So, all right, this is a good little thing. There's plenty of content, obviously, to go around that just wet the beak for the people. Let them know what they're missing out on. All right, let's talk about the slate as an overall. And again, it's two different conversations. We can kind of jump back and forth, I suppose. Fanduel, 10 games, DK, 5 games. You mentioned Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon had a career year at age 28, 29. He was incredible last season. This season, he's been spectacular as well. 2 games. He's at blackjack as far as strikeouts, 21 already. Big Ks, not a lot of walks, looking awesome. That Mets lineup, certainly the top. It's not something you want to pick on, but it's a nice ballpark to pitch in. The price isn't that crazy, especially on DK. I might have a hard time not playing him for the reasons we've kind of laid out already. Less pitching options to pick from, only 5 games, and you got to roster 2. Always baseball goofiness, variance, yada, yada can happen. But Rodon on paper is unquestionably the best pitcher in this slate, right?
Yes, certainly. I mean, he looks incredible. And, he was very, very good last season as well. So if you look at his numbers, I mean, however we want to sort it by from all angles, I mean, he comes in with the 35.6% K percentage over the last 2 seasons. This is a guy who was a top prospect forever, who just battled injuries and injuries. We never knew if he was going to get there. Finally, we saw it last season. The call 30.7 called strike whiffs. The walks have been fine. 2.84 Sierra. And then we look at this season, how he started out this season. That was last, and this he's up. I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Right now, it's 2 games, but a 46.7% K percentage. That's pretty good. I'll take that right now. So he's coming in hot. This is a pitching duel game. And both of these teams.
Kyle Schwarber dong. Did you play the early slate, the midday slate?
Did he just dong again?
I don't know. Well, I know he has one. Did he have one going into that at bat?
I don't know.
Yeah, he is banging one out now, and I think he's at So they're at 4 runs. Philadelphia, Castellanos, Schwarber, and Baum. All the guys have been playing the last 3 days or whatever it is. All homered in the slate I did not play. So there you go. A lot of fun. And I was on the early show. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize, but I was on the early show with the Scores and Odds show with Grant, and he was telling me one of the bets he likes was Kyle Schwarber at 3-1 to homer. And I was like, I don't know, man. It's fine. I didn't poo-poo it, but I was like, I don't love those odds. And there you go. And now Grant is tweeting me on Twitter to tell me I'm a big dope. Finish your thought, Kirkies. We also have Will, Chief Justice. Let's go. Will.
What's up, family?
Welcome to the show, man. What's going on, dude?
Listen, man. First of all, let me apologize to you guys as co-hosts for letting you down. I thought today's show started at 5, and then come to find out, the answer is no. Show starts at 4:30 today because of the
Oakland A's.
Yeah, because of the Oakland A's, and then let me apologize to the viewers, because I like to be here for y'all. So I sincerely apologize. I did not miss a minute of this show. I watched it the whole time in the car. You don't have to repeat anything. I know that as of the moment that I turned off my stream, we were talking about Carlos Rodon.
There you go. All right.
There you go.
We didn't say anything too mean about you, right? Behind your back? I don't think
so.
No,
Dean says.
Dean did needle you a little, Chief. I don't know if you caught it.
I listened to the whole show, and I said, Dean, that was a good one. Here's what he said. He said, I'm not sure if you guys know what time the slate's starting. Heck, some of the hosts don't even know what time the show's starting. Not the slate, the show. I said, go and Dean, and I deserve it. I deserve it. I did. I mean, man, I don't know how I missed that. I don't usually miss Slack messages either, but I just missed the whole thread. And Steve's like, hey, we're in here. And I said, we're not starting at 5? And he said, oh, Devin sent out a whole thing about it earlier. I said, oh, shoot, I don't know how I missed this. So there you have it. Please forgive me. I am prepared. I just, typically I'm out and about like between 3:30 and 4:30, like, grabbing something to eat and some drink. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, let me turn around and go home. But then I got to deal with some traffic. And so anyway, it's just my bad, guys. Like super sorry.
That Charleston traffic you got to prepare for, man.
You know about it.
I do know about it.
It's awful.
Yes. Gerties, you were talking about Rodon. I don't know if you want to put a.
He's a legit. He's a ridiculous ace. I can sit here and I can throw a bunch of stats on you and why he's so damn good, but it doesn't really matter. He's the clear SP1 tonight, and that game is a great. Bassett's been no slouch either, so that's a great pitching duel.
6.9% walk rate, which is pretty nice. Last 2 years as well too. You kind of mentioned Apollo K's, not a lot of walks. The matchup there against the Mets, it's a kind of a front-loaded lineup. Obviously, you got some boppers up top, but not an incredible amount of strikeouts, but there's some there. Who is that's not Mark Reynolds, is it? Matt Reynolds. Okay, I'm like, who's M Reynolds for the Mets? Matt Reynolds. All right, welcome. There you go. He's apparently batting. Oh, that's the projected lineup. It's not officially the lineup just yet. Will, did you have a thought as far as Rodon? I assume you think he's good at baseball too.
Yeah, man. Love Carlos Rodon today. I don't see any reason why, you have to fade him. I'm not saying he's the best pitcher in baseball, but he's by far probably the best pitcher on the Draftkings slate. And you talked about Chris Bassett on the other side. He's right up there. But yeah, Rodon, I think he's clearly ahead in terms of especially strikeout ability. Like it's his game to lose today for sure.
I don't know if producer Steve, can the people hear him saying that, or is he just saying that to us to troll us or troll me? I'm not sure. I still haven't quite figured that out, but he is a Mets fan, and follow him on Twitter if you want to see him tilting if they get like out in the first at bat or something like that, and all of a sudden he's gonna be miserable until they take the lead or something like that. All right, you mentioned the Hound Bassett on the other side. Will, the tricky part with him is that he's kind of expensive, right? You're not getting this big discount. He's 9.6K on DK. On FanDuel, he's 10.5. Of course, he could outscore Rodon. It's not the likely scenario, but he absolutely could. I don't know if you can go double barrel. I suppose, again, that's something you can do on DK, but probably not something I'm doing. Maybe. We'll see. But give your thoughts as far as Bassett. Sell me on Bassett over Rodon, or you don't want to sell me on that, Will?
I don't think I'm trying to sell you over Rodon. I think I'm just trying to sell you on his skills. I think, maybe a few years ago, we felt like Jose Barrios was kind of going to be a thing. And, maybe he could still be a thing tonight for the price, but I just feel like these are the two best pitchers on the slate. They're facing each other. The slate's a lot smaller now. I don't mind a double barrel. Like, what am I giving up the potential to get 2 extra points for the win or force, whatever it is, whatever. I can't think right now, but I'm basically giving up some ability. And guess what? At the end of it all, if it's 0-0 and they both leave the game, neither one of us is getting the points, and they still could outscore everybody else. I think they're the two best pitchers. Barrios could easily get touched up. Pavetta could get touched up. Paddock, Lynch, Dunning. It's just, I think we do need to double barrel, unless you think Eric Fetty is going to go out and just mow down Arizona.
Well, yes, we do live in the world of a salary cap. That's the tricky part, but there's also some hitters that I want to grab too.
But why? Yeah. So let me say this, and I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to make a point.
Please.
Historically, I think everybody knows I fade Coors Field every game, right? I just don't play the bats from Coors because I don't feel like the long-term upside is there, right? And I say the same thing every time. They're going to have 1 or 2 really big games, which is what draws people into playing Coors every time it's on the slate. And I know the weather will get better and it'll be a little bit better. But my point is, the other night we were talking about it on Crunch Time, and who's the number 1 team on the slate? The Phillies. And what did they do at Coors Field against, not Gomber, the guy that Chad Kuhl? They did absolutely nothing. And everybody spent all this money to have a bunch of zeros sitting in their lineup. And they do it, and this happens, honestly, more often than you win. I'm so serious. So my point is, I don't feel like I need to try to lock up any bats tonight. I think I need to lock up my pitching, and I think Rodon and Bassett give me the way to get there. And if one of these other cheap pitchers just happens to go off, they just happen to go off. But I'd rather take what I feel like is a version of safety, and I'll just find some bats that work.
Curtis, what do you think? Who's the best pitcher to pair with Rodon? Obviously, Bassett you feel good about, but again, there's some salary concerns. You can make it work, and I that's something again I might get to. You mentioned Logan Gilbert. Logan Gilbert might be like an ace in training, right? He's a big time arm, big time prospect. Looks so pretty good so far this season. I'm just ran in some optimals for what it's worth, and yeah, we're getting combinations of Rodon and Bassett, and then Gilbert, and then there's like Jose Barrios, who's he's definitely shown flashes, but it's a bad matchup. And he's been rough so far this season. Paddock is really cheap, but he's another guy that was like awesome. And now he's like, I guess not awesome, not sure. He's kind of lost it a bit as well, but he's cheap and he can certainly survive. And it's a nice ballpark to pitch in there in Kansas City. Your favorite SB2, Kirk D's on DK, who is it?
Okay. So, I mean, I like Bassett is my preferred. But if we're going to try to make it a little bit different, or even other options, we already just talked about them. Logan Gilbert, for sure. I mean, the thing about Logan Gilbert is he's got a really good fastball, and it's been working, but his other pitches haven't been great yet. So he also throws a slider and a change, which are supposed to be really solid pitches, but they haven't been this season. So what I'm saying is that he's going to get better and better. He should get better and better if those pitches start coming on, and he's already been pretty darn good regardless. So I'm on board for him. Other than that, I mean, it gets pretty dicey, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to go Fetty. I don't really want to. I mean, I definitely don't want to go Pivetta. I don't want to go Jose Barrios if long-term talent, maybe, but certainly a really tough matchup. Merrill Kelly would be the guy that I would look, or Dane Dunning. Well, you say oof.
Yeah.
But Merrill Kelly's looked like a different pitcher this year, and there's some reasons behind it. He's up about 2 ticks on his fastball, which is a really good sign. And these strikeout rates, striking out 6 batters against Houston and 7 against San Diego. This might be a new thing for Merrill Kelly this season. Maybe he goes back to the old Merrill Kelly. We'll see. But as of right now, I'm kind of buying into him. So it would be Rodon and Bassett would be my first top tier. Then I'll go Logan Gilbert. He's kind of there by himself. And then my next favorite would be Merrill Kelly and Dane Dunning.
Dunning is the tricky part with him. Like, he's a big arm talent as well. They just don't push him too hard. Last year, they really babied him. I think they let him go like 80 pitches or so his last start. I don't know how much beyond he would go to that. Let's see what card he has projected as far as his pitches. Do you have that in front of you, Kirkies? I know you have that page open. I presume.
Yeah, I do have it actually. So
85. It's my guess.
Let me find him. It's on early slate, of course.
I didn't mean to throw you off there.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm
useless. I'm useless to you.
86. Okay, so we got an 86 projection. That's kind of where I figured. And then that's kind of what you're paying for too. Like, you don't necessarily need him to max out. Pretty good arm. I mean, there's Paddock as well, who's like less than 6K on DK. Who's, I don't know. Do you think he's a fraud? Right? He's kind of fraudulent, Paddock. Not that he can't survive the slate, but long term, Will, are we a Paddock fan?
Unless he shows me something different this season, I won't be investing any American dollars into Chris Paddock probably this season.
Oh man, he's just really cheap, and it's a tight squeeze. The tricky part is I want to find a way to get Sal Perez. We'll talk about that soon enough, but Fanduel, it's easy. You can get Sal Perez, no problem. It's like 3.2K over there. Is really pricey on DK. I think it's going to be different. Varsho is going to be really chalky. We'll talk about that. I think it's going to be chalky. And Vlad is another big bat I want to spend up on. Those are my 2 favorite bats tonight. We'll see how much we can get of that, and double barreling that might just not be possible, especially losing that Tampa Bay Chicago game on DK because there was some cheap stuff in there. and now it's not happening, and it's only on FanDuel. Other pitchers, anybody else that we think that we should entertain? Like Barrios, tough matchup, right? He's scuffled so far this year, but like, he got a big old contract there in Toronto, and we've certainly seen him flash being a competent pitcher. But Will, you got anything else? Is this it? Daniel,
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Which I have been. I'm probably just playing Rodon and Bassett.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna figure out the bats. Like I mean, if they both go for, as an example, I don't think this is gonna happen, but I think it might be close enough. If they both go for 30, you have them both, like, you're set up for the rest of the night at this point. If they both happen to go for 30. And I think they're the most likely to go for 30 that we have. Like, I am getting a nice discount on Merrill Kelly. I do agree with Kirkwood. Like, at $8K on DK, it could be valuable. But I think I'd just rather take him in the prop game. In real life fantasy, I think Bassett and Rodon give me the most upside.
If y'all don't know, Will Chief has the prop shop that is free for anybody in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. The Discord channel will be Chief's Prop Shop. It is right below or right above Blender's Game Theory Room, Grant's Action Lounge. Of course, the live stream chat is there. That is free too. That's not a premium channel. Do say hello there. Do ask some questions. If you guys are on YouTube, feel free to jump in there as well. Or just if you have any questions regarding this slate, ask them on the old YouTube. Of course, hit the like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Producer Steve is pulling those questions, as well as Devin. I believe he is lurking too. Again, we go straight up until lock. We're going to be handing it off to Dave Potts. Cheese is good. TJ, as well as Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist, going to give you guys the lowdown as far as what's going on weather-wise, especially what's up in Chicago. They did move that game up a half hour to try to dodge some rain. We'll see what Roth has to say about that. Let's just touch on Fanduel real quick as far as the pitchers. The difference here, Kirk D's, we're adding Severino, we're adding Alcantara, we're adding Ohtani. Erod's really cheap. He's been, shaky this year, but he's shown flashes. Did those guys change your mind as far as Fanduel?
FanDuel, I definitely like some other guys. So I love Severino. It's hard not to. He everything looks good under the hood with him. It's really impressive that he, first of all, I've watched him and he just looks like the old Severino, which I'm surprised to see. He's the only thing is maybe his pitch count is a little lower than some of the others, but he threw 83 pitches, so probably 90-ish, right? And that should be more than enough right now for sure. 36% called strike whiffs. The guy looks awesome, so I love him. I also love Sandy Alcantara. He's one of my favorite pitchers anyway, with some of his filthy stuff that he has, but his command has been bad so far, but it's just all everything's gonna look, any day now we're gonna get that start, and I think it's probably gonna be today where he just goes absolutely nuts when all of his pitches are working. His command is in line, and tonight's night. It's not the best matchup in the world, but it's not horrific. So and it's also pitch count with him, right? He went 95 pitches already. So we can probably count on the potential for 100 pitches if things are going well. And that's huge right now. So, plus you can get for Fanduel, the quality start, the win. I like him. I like him as much as anybody on this slate.
Yeah, I think he's right there with Severino. I got Severino just ahead of him, but I agree. I like Alcantara a ton as well. The ballpark is awesome, obviously. Ks are fine, not spectacular, 23.4%. Walks are pretty good at 6.8%. And you said the matchup, there's not a ton of Ks in that lineup. There's some, Nootbaar, DeJong, O'Neill, collectively 20.2%. What do you want to add, Will, as far as Fanduel pitchers specifically? Have you taken a peek at that slate just yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind Sandy at all. In fact, I do want to give this out. If you're on Prize Picks, they've got Sandy Alcantara at a 25.5 fantasy score prop today. I think that's incredibly too low. He's always historically pitched better at home anyway. So I like him a lot. I don't think he goes for less than 30 fantasy points. Let's hope I'm right. So yeah, from that aspect, did want to give you guys that one. So yeah, overall, Fanduel, I don't hate Sandy at 9,200. You are getting like somewhat of a discount on your other guys, right? Like you've got Rodon at 10.8, you've got Bassett at 10.5. I absolutely would play Alcantara for tournaments, and I would absolutely play Severino for tournaments as well. This could be a spot for him. I mean, he had 6 Ks the last time out, didn't give up any runs, and that was against Toronto. If he can get the 6 and 6, like he's going to put up 46 fantasy points. 6 and 6 clean and get the win. He's going to be at 46 fantasy points. He's 9K. I like Severino as well for tournaments. Rodon and Bassett, I think, are safe in terms of a even playing field. I still think Rodon has more strikeout upside, but I think they're both safe. But if you had to ask me right now, straight up, I think Severino's the tournament pitcher for sure.
Gonna go around the horn
on FanDuel because of the price.
Yeah. We'll go around the horn position by position in a second. Before we do that, Kirk Dees, do you have any favorite stacks tonight? Like they're all sort of like bunched together, I think, sort of. I have a couple leans, but you tell me. Any favorite stacks this evening?
Yeah. So, and are we talking both FanDuel and
yeah, man, it's just. I mean, the people are going to know that they're playing on a certain site. It's tricky.
I mean, I like both sides of this Red Sox game. I don't think Pivetta is very good right now. He hasn't looked very good right now. His ceiling, he can have good games, but overall, I don't think he's a very, very good pitcher. Berrios has looked really bad so far, but he's someone I believe in with his stuff long term. But these are guys that on this slate, these are the guys to attack, in my opinion. In Fenway's decent park. It's not the best weather. It's a little chilly out. You got a little breeze going out to right field. So I like that. I don't want to touch this Mets game whatsoever for the batters, unless you want to just game theory it if you're trying to, big, large field GPP stuff. No, I don't want to. Those are my favorite. And then maybe the Twins. I can get behind the Yankees too. I mean, they should be able to hit Erod. You got a bunch of power righties, but the thing is, there's just as good of a chance that they just completely do nothing and strike out with this team. So they're kind of
the wind's blowing in also.
Yep, exactly. Boomer bust there for sure. And then the Twins. I like them a little bit better weather, wind blowing out to center. You got, at least it's in the 60s degrees for weather. Daniel Lynch is decent, probably going to be decent long-term, but no one I'm scared of attacking. So I like, and plus their salaries are so ridiculously cheap on DraftKings. So they're probably going to be massively chalky over there. Don't you think?
I'm not sure. I don't know if we have ownership percent right now up for some reason. I was checking the lineup HQ on DK, and maybe we're working on that one. Maybe I got to give it a refresh, but I'm not certain. I actually like the other side of that game a little bit more because I think Paddock, he's got a big reverse split. I really want to get some Perez. I think Bobby Witt hits his first homer as a major leaguer. I like the righties on the Kansas City side. So, same ballpark. And the wind, I think, is actually blowing out a little bit there. Not a great ballpark for homers, obviously. But Weather Edge didn't completely hate it in a small sample. 43 games, 10% bump on homers. Wind blowing out 5 miles per hour. Do want to note that Roth updated his weather, and he still has the Chicago game as orange. It says, I'll just go ahead and read it. I guess I can read it. Chicago moved the start time up, but the problem still remains. It's going to rain basically all game. At times, it's going to be raining fairly heavily. I like that they at least moved the start time because it shows that they are trying to play, but even trying to play in this weather might not be possible. In order to get this game in, they either have to be playing fully soaked or playing in light rain. Delaying when it pours, which will be a long delay, then finishing in late rain. Neither of those options seems great to me. So postpone is still on the table. Roth will be in about 20 minutes or so. I'll give you guys an update. Of course, the closer we get the lock on that, the better answer he can give as far as what's going down in Chicago. But that does not feel very great. We'll see. Will, your thoughts on that? Chicago, Tampa. Well, it's either all in or all out, I guess. That's sort of where I'm at. If you're going to stack it up or just kind of totally stay away. And any stacks in particular you might like?
Yeah, I'm just not touching that game. So I'm just going to avoid it. Definitely with Kirk D's here. Really like the Twins. I think this is a pretty good spot for them overall. You know, he's already talked about the fact that Daniel Lynch is, you know, he's not some elite pitcher by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, he's a bad pitcher. And yeah, of course, you know, if you look at the strikeout numbers over the past couple of seasons, it looks like the Twins are, you know, going to strike out, and you will get some, but, you know, Polanco, Correa, you know, those are going to be guys. I mean, Daniel struggled really bad against righties. Going to be mostly throwing fastball, and then you just kind of look at these numbers and you go, well, wait a minute. Jorge Polanco's got a 450 ISO. Looks good. May not hit home runs, but ball should be traveling. Let's hope Babbitt's on our side and get some singles and doubles. Carlos Correa, ISO is down, but the contact rate is up. Gio Urshela, 222 ISO, 76% contact rate. You know, you go down here, Mr. Miguel Sano. Listen, folks, when Miguel Sano has an 84% contact rate on a pitch and a 500 ISO, just take it. Is his overall K rate awful? Absolutely. It's 28%, but he's got a shot to smash tonight here. So I'm with Kirk D's. Definitely like the Twins in terms of a stack. I actually don't hate the Seattle Mariners a little bit. Just some pieces, right? Not necessarily stacking them up completely, but you got Winker there, France and Suarez and Crawford. It's one of those weird teams that at the end of the night, they score 5 or 6 runs. They don't hit any home runs. And, you know, a guy hits a single RBI, steals a base, somebody brings him home, and, you know, a couple of your guys get you in double digits, and you go from there. Secretly, my last team, last one, I'll make this short. Last team that I think is fairly sneaky, bad team on paper, I think the Angels could have a game here tonight against Jake Odorizzi. You know, everything isn't going to look great. Like, their K rates are up, but, you know, if you get Jarrett Walsh and Brandon Marsh going, and Anthony Rendon can bat the ball around a little bit, you know, lo and behold, at the end of the night, Angels have won you some money. So those are my rando stats for the day.
Tricky part with stacking the Angels is there's no Trout and you can't roster Ohtani.
That's the point. Nobody's gonna play them, but Odorizzi's bad. Like, he's not good anymore.
Yeah, he's kind of an innings eater, I suppose, at this point in his career. But yeah. By the way, ownership is back up on DK. Just give it the old refresh. Let's try to pick up the pace here. I was pacing it. Now I realize we have kind of not a time crunch, but we're going to go around the horn fairly quickly. Of course, on Fanduel,
let me give one stack, low owned stack idea. So the highest home run, you know, for over the last season and this season, for the second highest home run per 9 is Fetty. And, you know, if we look at the smash percentage, which I like to do for the stacks for Arizona, they're the top RG smash percentage over on DraftKings. Now, I know for some reason the bat thinks Dalton Varsho is Mike Trout every slate. I don't quite know why, but it does. So maybe that's affecting this number.
He's leading off is kind of, I'm sure that's going to be.
Yeah, you're going to get low ownership on this stack. The Nat Fetty is definitely a guy that can give up bombs. It's not the greatest weather spot or anything like that, but also the bullpen is extremely bad coming. I think they're I had them 28th coming in to this season. So this is one to just attack right out the gate. So I think the Arizona for a low owned stack tonight is pretty good.
Do not have to roster a catcher on FanDuel. I think I will with Sal Perez. On DK, they force you to do so. Like I hinted at before, like you talked about Varsho, 36% projected owned on DK. You can also throw him in the outfield if you like. Gary Sanchez, not one of those cheap Twins. And again, kind of like Sano, you like them against pitchers that don't necessarily miss bats, just like Sano. And if Sanchez actually hits the ball, he's got a chance to bang it about 500 feet. Varsho, Sanchez, and then Perez are the 3 highest projected players, which makes a ton of sense to me. What do you want to add there, Will, as far as catchers? Anybody stand out for you? Anybody else you want to add to the conversation? Or is that kind of it?
I mean, I just got Jeffers is going to be fine. I mean, I don't Cal Raleigh. Like I'm just kind of playing random catchers mostly. I'm not really too stuck on how I feel like a catcher is going to make or break my lineup tonight. I'm just trying to kind of get it somewhat right. Find the guy like honestly, Stassi might be my favorite catcher tonight. He's not great. But I mean, I don't trust Jake Odorizzi here. I just don't, so I'm just trying to attack these bad pitchers.
Kirk, anything to add? We're a little behind on time. So if you have nothing else, if you have a favorite catcher, feel free, go for it.
Sanchez, Varsho, Perez, you nailed it. Jeffers, if you need the 2K punt. And I have to mention my boy, Kirk.
Alejandro. Yeah.
Yes.
I tend to roster him a bunch and it hasn't worked out, but theoretically, I think there's some power in that bat. I don't mind him as a flat out punt, especially if you're like, mini stacking Toronto. Let's jump to first. You mentioned Sano. Sano's a great salary saver. It's all the way up or all the way down. That's my 2 favorite options are probably Sano and Vladdy. Vladdy's awesome. It's just salary cap concerns. Pavetta, neutral split, get to attack the monster. He's just awesome. I those are my 2 favorite at first. Feel free to add on, Kirk, these or disagree, or who else you want to add to the conversation.
Yeah, there's not a lot to like here. There's Sano for the cheap. There's Vlad for up top. Then from there, Christian Walker gets the cleanup spot for Arizona, which I kind of like. Maybe Nate Lowe, but yeah, that's it. There's not a lot to like here.
Somebody in chat's asking Walker versus Beer. I guess they're stacking Arizona. Like, do you have a preference amongst those two, or it's kind of 51-49?
Well, it's 420, so.
Well, then
Beer is kind of the opposite, but it's also kind of aligned. They do make a good combo. So,
yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I was looking at the roster. Justin Smoke. Unfortunately, Justin Smoke is not available or not in the league. I don't know who else, but we're trying to think of other guys that may be good narrative street 420 players. That was our pre-show conversation. You missed out on that, Will. You didn't hear that one. Feel free to add.
My sincerest apologies.
No, you're fine. What do you have at first base?
I mean, everybody I'm going to talk about is probably going to be a part of a team that should hit some home runs like Vlad. And Vlad's kind of the obvious play, right? But, I mean, geez, man, Vlad feels like he should be hitting one tonight. I think I talked about the Angels. I like Jared Walsh. Walsh is on my list. I think even though I like Merrill Kelly tonight, I am going to have Josh Bell on the list. Let's see. I think I'm actually going to have Jesus Aguilar on the list against Miles Mikolas tonight. Mikolas is a guy that's, not going to necessarily have strikeouts, running free in his start. So lefty, give me some Anthony Rizzo. Probably one of my favorite hitters in baseball, mostly just because of low strikeouts and has a little bit of power. And then Ty France going against Dane Dunning. Don't hate that. And I don't think Dane's a slouch, but Ty France has, kind of been swinging a hot bat here, over the past little stretch. So I just kind of want to get a couple of shares of him. And then on the reverse side of that, with Nate Lowe against Gilbert, I don't mind him as well.
Yeah. I'm just checking.
And Miguel Sano. I talked about Miguel Sano in the stack, but play Miguel Sano at first base as well. Unfortunately,
Brandon Whedon not available on this slate either. He's not quarterbacking for any of these baseball teams. I'm trying to think of maybe the chat can come up with something. That'll be fun. Well, let's have the chat have a good time with that. Steve, let me know if anybody in the chat comes up with a good one. If we get a good one, maybe we'll give a 1 week free of RG Premium. It's got to be good though. Give us some good suggestions who would be a great player to play on April 20th. Keystone position, second base. What do you have for me, Will?
Second, Jorge Polanco. You can play him at second and shortstop tonight on FanDuel. I'm bringing up FanDuel because they've got those couple extra games in there. So, yeah. And then also at second, of course, we got Mr. DJ LeMahieu. And for some reason with him on FanDuel, he's got triple position eligibility, first, second, and third.
He can stink at multiple positions.
Swiss Army knife, DJ LeMahieu. Don't mind him at all. You're going to hear me talk about these other random guys, but I'm going back. Tyler Wade, you can get him at second. I keep talking about Odorizzi. So he's a guy that I'm absolutely going to be attacking tonight. Kevon Biggio, bottom of the lineup, facing Nick Pivetta today, 2,100 on FanDuel. Incredible spot for him. Like it a lot. Definitely going to have some exposure. As much as I like Carlos Rodon, Eduardo Escobar swinging a pretty good bat right now too. He's just a one-off play though. Just a one-off play. And I don't mind taking him against Rodon. I mean, he's like one of the only guys, a guy gets on base. You know, I don't think Rodon's going to pitch the whole game. You know, maybe he sneaks one in. And then, you know, I talked about attacking Dane Dunning a little bit. I don't think Dane Dunning gets blown up, but I think the Mariners as a team may have a good game in spots. So Adam Frazier, I'll be playing some of him. Whit Merrifield will be playing some of him against Chris Paddock, guy that's a jack-in-the-bag candidate. That's a tribute to my good friend Pepsi 7. And
you guys good friends? Is he cheating on me?
And Adalberto Mondesi, can play him at second and shortstop. A second jack-in-the-bag candidate from the same team. I think these are two guys you can play together. You play Witt at second and Mondesi at shortstop. But I like them both today against Chris Paddock.
Kirk D, second base.
Well, Chop chimed in. He's on vacation in Arizona right now, but he chimed in with his BVP play of the day.
Who is it?
Gleyber Torres against Erod. 3 homers.
2 for 4?
No, three homers in not sure how many bats in 23 at bats. So he's on board there.
Loyal viewer, by the way, on vacation. I appreciate that, Chopper.
Yeah, I'm getting Adam Frazier a lot tonight. I like Seattle. I like the Seattle lineup in general. This team's going to be pretty fun this season. So Adam Frazier is a guy who's people aren't going to play, at least on DraftKings, because of 4.08K is just going to get lost in the shuffle. So that's someone I'm kind of trying to get in here. On FanDuel, I mean, Polanco is 3,100 leading off. Witt, as Chief said, but also Ketel Marte. I think this Nats Arizona game could go so many different ways, and I think that, but I do think that the Diamondbacks can be a good stack here today. I also think Ketel Marte can play him by himself, but I also like the other side for the Nats too as well. So, and I like Merrill Kelly. So I'm playing all angles of this Nats Diamondbacks game.
We got to pick up the pace here, boys. The crunch time crew should be in about like 7 to 10 minutes or so. Of course, they're going to go around the horn as well. So like whatever we don't hit, they'll hit, obviously. Third base, hot corner. Kirk Dees, what do you have for me?
My boy, Rafael Devers.
My gosh. Oof. He just keeps hitting, man.
Well, it's been a little bit light so far, but he's had some games here for sure. But he's up there. He's probably my top option for if money's not a thing. If money is a thing, you can go to your guy who you already mushed. So there's no way he's hitting his home run tonight, Bobby Witt Jr. I like the play, but now that Dean mushed him, I think he's on play.
If he would have homered last night, I think I win the slam. But yeah. At least they don't hold a grudge.
Nobody keeps playing Eugenio Suarez, and he's belting them out, and he looks good. He's on that. I mean, I just think that Seattle lineup. The Seattle lineup is a lot of fun. It's a lot of potent guys that and also guys that they're going to have some rough nights, but they're going to have some nights where they absolutely go off. So I like him. Matt Chapman. and that's the game I like. So those are the guys I'm on tonight.
Will?
Yeah, man. If you kind of go through the position, and I'm going to kind of focus more on Fanduel because some of these guys are going to be playing a little earlier, but Josh Donaldson against the lefty. I don't care if it's Erod. Give me some Donaldson. Light Rendon. I keep talking about the Angels against Odorizzi. I've got a gut feeling about the Angels tonight for whatever reason, along with the numbers. Odorizzi is awful, and I'm trying to, follow myself here and say, okay, I think we got a spot. Gio Urshela, don't hate him as well.
Hey, Kirk Dees, if you're playing DK tournaments tonight and you're going like double barrel as far as pitchers, what do you think the best stacks are to use with those double barrels? It's a question from chat.
So they're saying you're going Bassett and Rodon?
I presume, or like the dude in Seattle, Logan. I assume that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, so I think playing Seattle is really sharp tonight. I'm getting a lot of them. I think Minnesota, just because of the pricing, that makes it easy. That's what
I'm saying.
That's what everyone's doing, right?
Yeah, that's what everyone's doing. So if you want to get a little different, I think, playing either Arizona or Washington, playing Seattle, but the ones that fit the best are that, they'll be chalky, but Minnesota. And then I also like Boston or Toronto.
You can go like Rodon, Bassett, Sanchez, Sano, and then have 4K. That's something then all of a sudden you got somebody to play with. Like Sanchez and Sano are both really cheap. I haven't looked at the Minnesota Outfielders. Of course, their team is really hindered by the loss of Buxton. Garlick is super cheap. He's a pinch hit threat at times. Larnick is another guy that might get pinch hit. They're probably a little thin, the absent of Buxton, but those guys sometimes do get the hook. Every outfielder on DK for Minnesota is 2-1 or less. So you can, and you probably can get a couple big boy bats. You can get 2 big arms, a Minnesota stack, and then like the big dogs and other positions to kind of fill out your stack. Shortstop, Will, what do you have?
Yeah, I think I did talk about Mondesi at second, but you can play him at short as well. Like him, you can play Polanco at shortstop as well, so don't hate him. Carlos Correa is obvious, I think. And then we haven't talked much about the Boston guys, but I don't hate Trevor Story here. Like, just a spot where Berrios just kind of maybe hasn't been great. I don't mind running out a little contrarian Trevor Story, a guy that can hit 2 home runs in the right situation.
Is he silent?
Yeah, Dean is. We can't hear you, buddy.
No, I'm just an amateur. I didn't unclick my.
He's on mute. He's got 3 best balls. He's got open up right now. I mean,
last I checked, I'm winning my NHL best ball, and I'm very proud of that because I know very little about hockey. I just stacked the Panthers. So talking about some outfielders, Kirk Dees. Obviously big spends, like a guy like Soto looks awesome. Vladdy. Why am I saying Vladdy? He's not an outfielder. Springer, that would be an outfielder I kind of like, but again, salary cap concerns. Who's popping for you in the outfield today?
All right, I'll get to that one second. I just want to reiterate the question with the Rodon and Bassett. I just looked at my exposures that I had made before with that pricing combo. I have KC as the top stack with them. Then I have Toronto or Arizona as the next 2 best. All right, outfield. Let's see. So, on Fanduel, well, we don't know about weather. There's weather problems with some of these bats. I would say like a Rosarino would be a good play, but that game may just be not playable anyway. Aaron Judge certainly is a guy. I love Seattle tonight. I love Winker. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate tonight. So there, I'll check on DraftKings. Garlick is too cheap. He's home run threat for 2K minimum batting cleanup. Going to be extremely chalky, but certainly if you like your build and you can layer him in for sure. Juan Soto, Springer, Winker, as I said. Verdugo is a guy that I like at 4,100 batting 5th.
Will?
Yeah, it's going to be these Twins outfielders. Seattle outfielders, Rodriguez, Kalinick, Winker. The Blue Jays outfielders, of course. they don't feel great because outside of Springer at the top, like you got, Gurriel, I think has been pretty good over the past few seasons. But in terms of Ramel Tapia coming over from Colorado, like maybe you're not as interested. I am. I don't trust Pivetta either. Once again, I'll be back with the Angels. K rates are up there, but Brandon Mars, Joe Adell, I will have exposure to them. And then I'm going Juan Soto. He's probably one of the best outfielders on the slate, so I don't think you need to avoid him. And then in terms of the FanDuel stuff, you've got Judge, you've got Stanton against Erod. I don't hate that. And then I also Jesus Sanchez in the outfield against Nicolas. Don't hate him either.
Kirk Dees, do you like the Baltimore stack? They're asking about the Baltimore stack in chat. Of course, that's a FanDuel question or maybe a Yahoo question as well. That game is just, it's happening in a forest. I don't know if it makes a sound for me. I don't think I'm getting anything in that game. I'm not really interested. How about you?
Nope.
Kirk Dees?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I was not on mute that time for what it's worth, but
no, yeah. that was my internet. I saw a thing. So what was the question?
Question in chat: Baltimore stack, yay or nay?
I against Dalton Jeffries and the Oakland team, I'd have to say yay.
Okay. An enthusiastic yay, or just like you can do it?
No, it's just like yay. Not like yay.
Yeah. I hear. Yeah, it's not you're not thrilled, but I hear you. You'll play it. You'll do it. By the way, Max Kepler is going to pinch hit for one of these Minnesota outfilders. Just a heads up. Probably Larnach.
But Larnach is a lefty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is he? Because he can actually hit right-handed. He can hit left-handed pitching better than Kepler, I guess.
Oh, isn't Kepler a lefty too?
Yeah, I know. So I was just wondering why they went.
They just give him a day, I imagine. Yeah. I wonder who's DHing. I'm just curious to see which one is actually the DH today for Minnesota. These are the important things. Sometimes this stuff actually does matter. The DH for Minnesota is actually Jeffers. So that makes they're running out two catchers. They actually have Sanchez behind the plate, which I don't think is good for Paddock. Just a heads up. Like Sanchez notoriously is a bad receiver, right? Bump up your Kansas City stack incrementally. They're running out.
Pump it up.
So give me 3 homers, Will. Crunch Time Crew should be knocking on the door coming in shortly. Roth's going to tell you what's going on weather-wise. Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire. Cheese is good. He's going to tell you to play, as well as TJ. Going to be a fun conversation. Take you guys up to the least the FanDuel lock. They might go beyond because, of course, the DK slate locks at 7-ish. They're not staying that late, but as long as you guys keep firing questions, I imagine they will stick around. Will, give me 3 guys that are going to bang out some homers.
Give me Jesse Winker. Give me Carlos Correa. Give me Anthony Rendon. Give me. Oh, let me give you.
How many guys you get?
Is
that 3 or am I counting wrong?
No, that was 3. I was going to squeeze one more in there for the people because I showed up late today. Give me Kevin Biggio from the Blue Jays. Nice spot. Sending one over the fence in Boston.
Sal Perez is going to hit 2 more. He hit 1 yesterday. Witt hits his first homer. And maybe we get to, I don't know, is it Michael Taylor? We're going to get like at least 3 out of Kansas City. I don't know exactly who's banging them out. What do you have, Curtis?
I mean, Vlad is
well,
the top. That's the chalk easy one. Alex Verdugo is going to take Berrios tonight. And I agree with your Sal Perez. I mean, he's unstoppable right now. Just keep gotta play the hot players, Dean.
Yeah, well, I mean, is that a shot at the Chop? I know Chop's he's hot guy. He's not that kind of thing. He didn't catch last night because he was dealing with an eye, like he was like day to day or something. But I'm just curious if he's actually catching today or if he's DHing. I don't know how much it matters, but I mean, I assume his eye is fine. It was good enough to hit 2 home runs last night. But I got a 2v2 for you, Curtis, if you don't mind. Garlic and Peralta. These are some ugly names. Garlic and Peralta versus Dozier and Pavin Smith.
Garlic or as Kevin Roth would say, garlic. And Peralta. I think the Diamondbacks are kind of sneaky here today. So give me those.
Perez DHing today, by the way. Gallagher, that makes sense. Yeah, Perez is the DH. Gallagher behind the plate. Bringing in TJ. I'm sure Spider-Man at some point is going to reveal his favorite homer. Does he have home run picks on layaway here, TJ?
Oh, he's always got home run picks on layaway if we get the right amount of likes on YouTube.
There, you're really good at pushing the likes. I'm not not nearly as good. I got to take your class. I got to take your marketing tutorial, because you pump them up to 100 or something like that. I guess each 50 you release another homer from Spider-Man. That's fully proven. There's a long enough sample size that Spider-Man just knows better.
Yeah, and so he was 1 for 3 on the home run calls, but Gavin Luck still had like 27 points, and Ian Happ had a solid day as well. So only 1 for 3 on the bombs, but he predicted fantasy points well.
Well, I should stop yapping, because the people want to hear what Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth has to say about the Cubs game. They did bump it up a half hour. Was that enough? Is that going to matter? You all got Dave Potts. Cheese is good, from the $1 Million Musings. It's called the Music. It's not ironically titled. He's won $1 million 2 times. What's up, Roth? How concerned should we be about the Cubbies?
Concerned enough that I don't love it in cash games, but not so concerned that I think you should avoid it in GPPs. Is that a fair answer? And I'll go into detail later.
Yeah, that's good. We'll just step aside and make way for you guys. Of course, you'll be talking about the Fanduel slate, and you'll be talking about the DK slate. I didn't promise the people you're going to stay till 7:00, but maybe you'll stay after Fanduel lock if there's more questions being pumped in. We'll see how that goes down. But let's step aside, make way for crunch time. Feel free to elaborate as far as the weather. See what Dave Potts, Jesus Good, and TJ have to say about tonight's slate. For Kirk D's, for Will, thanks for watching. Crossover.
All right. Thank you, Dino. Appreciate that. This is officially now Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel, joined by a couple of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Dave Potts, a.k.a. Cheese is Good. What up, Cheese?
Yep. Happy day. Weird, like just games all day and just slates all over the place. Like I got up this morning. I'm like, I guess I'm writing about a 3-game slate over here and 5 games here and a 6 o'clock here and a 7 o'clock here. And but you know what? It's baseball all day, so I'll take it.
And then games were getting moved too, like multiple games moved their start time. So I had to like reach out to Devin 7 times to be like, okay, when do we start? When is this show going on? But I think
all night. We start now and we go forever.
Yeah, and this is our second crunch time of the day. We did have an earlier one as well. But this one not only has Cheese, it also has TJ with us, who is, I'm guessing, officially in his spot now, because quite the backdrop you got, man.
I'm here. I have hooked up internet. I have my office set up. Life is good. Life is good.
It looks sharp. I like the backdrop. I do believe you may be a bit of a Marvel fanatic based on what I'm seeing back there, but I approve.
Hey, it's all of it. I got this is the Star Wars corner down here. I got the DC stuff up against the wall there, all the anime stuff beside me to the left here. We got a good little setup.
Man, that is awesome. I'm jealous. Looking around my walls, I have nothing that cool. A painting that my wife painted. That's it. That's not as cool as everything that you have set up. But what the people care about is not our dope setups, TJ. They care about our dope home run picks. You feel good about the slate?
I do. I'm feeling pretty good. I think there's quite a bit of concentrated ownership, a few nice ways to get different. And it's a fun one. I like it quite a bit. One of my top stacks on the board isn't picking up very much ownership, so I'm excited to break it down.
Okay. Well, we will get into all that. First, we'll talk weather as well. Some of you tune in to hear my thoughts on weather, which is crazy, but I'll give you that in a bit. A little bit of housekeeping first. Starting off, this is FanDuel's Crunch Time. They sponsor the show. That's why it's free to you. So be sure to check out the FanDuel 125K Wednesday MLB Squeeze, 25K to first, $5 to enter that. You can also sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you are in a legal sports betting state, new users get a risk-free bet up to $1K. And FanDuel Sportsbook users, they can take advantage of that. They receive their bonus just after a one-time bet. So you just bet once and then you get the bonus. It's wonderful stuff.
And that $5 contest has a great payout structure today too. 25K to first. It's still that's still a very, very big chunk of change. Would obviously be great to win, but they got top 10s all through the 4 figures today. So it's a nice one. It's not one of those either you win 100K or you get a kick in the pants kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It's like first is $100,000. Second is a set of steak knives. That's not okay. STL Cards PGA article. Look, we've got golf tomorrow. The Zurich Classic.
Zurichi.
Zurichi.
TJ should know how to pronounce that word because it might be his last name for all we know.
That's
it.
Zwarych.
Touche. I got nothing.
That's pretty good. It's tomorrow. So our PGA article, STL Cards, who is just a golf whiz, his PGA article is free on the Rotogrinders site. It's usually premium, but it's free. My golf forecast is always free. So you've got the weather and the picks and the plays right there on Rotogrinders. Just go to the little golf tab and find his premium GPP article. You can check that out. And then don't forget Scores and Odds as well. We've got you covered. Any sports betting that you want to do, daily expert picks, analysis tools, we can help make you a better sports bettor. So sign up for scoresandodds.com. That's it. That's all that stuff out of the way. Cheese, you wanna ask me about the weather?
Hey, how's the weather? Mostly Chicago. For some reason, they're playing a game in what is essentially the middle of the afternoon in Oakland too, that I guess has some weather. But yeah, can we play these? At least the bats. I don't think we want pitchers, the bats in the Chicago game.
So let's get the easy ones out of the way. Oakland, play it. Kansas City and Detroit, I wouldn't be wildly shocked if there was a late start in either, but I don't think there's going to be a late start in either. And if there is, play it anyways. So just if you hear a late start announcement, don't freak out. Just play them.
We do have one of the top pitchers in that Detroit game. Is a delay a strong possibility?
No. If anything, it would be a late start, and it would not. I'm just going to double check that radar right now in Detroit. Make sure. Yeah. If anything, it'd be a late start, and I don't think that's going to happen. Nice. So we're going to be okay there. Chicago's the tough one. I kind of was thinking all day, all right, they're going to postpone this. Then they moved up the start time, and then I thought, okay, well, they want to play. And here's what I think is going to happen. They're going to start playing in some light rain. They're probably going to play for maybe an hour or a little more until it starts raining a little heavier, and then a little heavier. And eventually, I think it's probably just going to get too heavy to play through. So do I think they'll get a qualified game in? Yes. I think they get more than 5 innings. I think it's not very likely that they get 9. It's certainly possible. Them still postponing it and them getting 9 innings, both possible outcomes. I think the most likely outcome is they play it in decent weather for the first 5 innings. The last 4 innings get rough, and at some point they just say it's too wet and it's too dangerous out here.
Interesting.
So I would say for tournaments, okay, would you stick with that in tournaments, Cheese?
Yeah, I'm okay. This is the kind of slate where, we're not looking for 15 runs anywhere, really. And riddle us this, Kevin Roth. Is there maybe helpful wind? Is that 20-mile-an-hour wind? Is it going out?
Yeah. Okay. So great point. The wind forecast for this game is for it to be a little bit out to left, but also right to left. So not perfect. But as the game goes on, that wind should shift a little bit, and it should be blowing out straight to left by this. This is my very official wind measurements.
Oh, yeah. We know what you're saying.
You're right. So it should shift just enough so that for, I'd say, half the game or so, if they play the whole game, then it will be blowing out to left.
Could it just blow all the rain off of the field too? And be like, it's dry here on the field and the rain push. All right. Unlikely. I'm playing bats.
Yeah, I like it. I'm okay with it. I think in tournaments you probably should. And if you get 7 innings and it works out great, you could still win. If you get 5 innings, it probably didn't work out great. But I don't think 5 is. I think more than 5 is the likely outcome.
So it is good that they're starting it early. They did a good thing.
They did. And when I first saw it, I was like, this is dumb. This is not going to help. But it was the right choice to start early. So kudos to them. I do think I think you can play it in tournaments. I've talked for 10 straight minutes. I'm tired of talking. You want to talk about this slate?
Should probably do it.
Let's do it. All right. Let's do some pitcher talk. Cheese.
Yeah. So we'll just do Fanduel because that lock is coming up quick, and then we'll do some DraftKings after that. Okay. Carlos Rodon is way better than everybody else. He's the clear number one guy. And then on FanDuel, like Chris Bassett and Logan Gilbert are good pitchers. They're fine. Alcantara and Ohtani, good pitchers. They're fine. But Severino at 9K is the other kind of obvious guy. To me, I think you could do 100% of your lineups with one of those two guys, Rodon and Severino. And that's what I would try to do. I'm pretty close to it. I have about 100 lineups and I have about 97% of those two guys. If you just need to go cheap, which honestly you don't with the salaries, you could do like Eduardo Rodriguez. You could do like Dane Dunning, Daniel Lynch, Jake Odorizzi, but like you just don't need that salary on FanDuel. You really don't. So I'd say play a good pitcher, Rodon or Severino.
TJ, you playing a good pitcher, Rodon or Severino?
Yeah, like in your single entries and optimal stuff, Rodon to me is by far the top option. I agree with Cheese just based on the amount of ownership that he's getting. I would want to either get way overweight on that or fade just based on he's probably going to be pushing 40% owned on a big slate. But he's in such a good spot that the fade button is definitely a lot tougher than just getting way above that price. But at the same time, we do have a huge slate and there are a lot of options. And so I agree with most of the ones Cheese said. One of the ones I like quite a bit for tournaments is Dunning. And then if you wanted to be absolutely crazy, I think somebody else who's super cheap you could take a shot on in Oakland Pitchers Park is Jordan Lyles. But like he said as well, you don't need that salary. So in terms of FanDuel tonight, my pitching pool would be pretty tight. But in terms of the ones that Cheese mentioned that I like a little bit more would be Dane Dunning would be the number one.
Okay. Good stuff. Also, just noticing the throwback Rugrats hoodie, which is just phenomenal stuff right there, man. That is an excellent little piece of nostalgia. Okay, let's talk some of the stacks here. Let's talk some of the hitters. Cheese, you mentioned, you have some interest in Chicago, but TJ, let's talk about what your plans are. What's the chalk? What's everybody doing? And then what are you doing to get different?
So on FanDuel, I think the most chalk is probably going to be the Blue Jays and the Twins. And that Twins ownership, especially on DK, is wild. But on FanDuel, they're still picking up quite a bit. But my favorite stack of the night, I think, is probably the Angels. And so obviously it's incredibly watered down because you don't have Trout. You can't play Ohtani on FanDuel in the hitter position, but they still have some players who so far this year have been playing some really good baseball, hitting the ball well, and are super cheap and allow you to pay up for those Rodones and allow you to get to the likes of the Vladdy Guerreros and the George Springers on Toronto if you want to pay up for them as well. So the Angels are a stack I really like. The Twins and the Jays in fantastic spots, but the ownership is going to go there along with them. The Red Sox, I think, are in a nice spot as well. Barrios has been struggling so far this year. The Rays look pretty good, but the ownership's going with them. And like, that's kind of my top spot. That's kind of like where I like sticking. I'm only playing one lineup on FanDuel tonight. If I was playing 150, obviously I'd be running a lot more, but the Angels and the Blue Jays are my top two.
Okay. And was it the Angels off the top of the show? You talked about, you had a favorite stack and it's coming in low owned. That's the Angels?
It is. It's the Angels, because one of the things I like about them is as a team, they're not picking up very much. But even if you go towards them, the person picking up the most is Rendon. And he's actually not the one I'm getting to in my stack. I love getting to the cheap Taylor Ward in that lineup spot. Jared Walsh, I like quite a bit. And where's the last one as well? Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh has just been absolutely smashing the ball this year. And so he's somebody I like getting to as well.
Okay, good stuff. Cheese, let's talk about some of your favorite stacks on the board.
I do agree that it's weird that I kind of like the Angel stack with no Trout and no Ohtani. And I also agree. I think the first 4-man stack I built there was Ward, Walsh, Marsh, and Stassi, again, without Rendon. Not that you can't play him as well, but that makes it interesting. I agree. If there's chalk, and there will be somewhat chalk, but it's not mega chalk, but it'll be the Blue Jays and the Twins. The Blue Jays and the Red Sox, both sides of that game are my two favorites. The other game that is kind of there with the Angels are the Nationals and the Diamondbacks. I don't mind either of those teams. but really it's just almost everything is a virtual kind of blah, okay tie, other than Toronto and Boston are a little bit out in front.
Okay, great. Let's see. Let's talk FanDuel here. Go position by position. For FanDuel, it is catcher first base. So, Cheese, what are you doing there?
So there are very few first basemen. I don't even mean few good ones, just like few, period. Vlad is probably top play on the slate. If you have money, that's the guy you want. I actually like catchers as much as first baseman. I would say after Vlad, I would say Sal Perez and Gary Sanchez are probably my next two favorite players at the position. We already mentioned Jared Walsh. Other than those guys, you can go cheap and play like Miguel Sano and Dalton Varsho, and maybe you get a cheap home run. But the going down at this position is just really not great. So it's mostly something in a stack if you're not getting up to Vlad, and Sal Perez is my second favorite guy.
All right, TJ.
Yeah, same guys, just a bit of a different order for me. Vlad's my number one, but Walsh would be their number two. And then Perez 3, Sanchez 4 are my four favorites at the position. Cheap guy I think you can go for if you're looking for a homer, maybe is Seth Brown, first base and outfield eligible. And then Miguel Sano I like maybe as a potential home run call there as well.
Okay, take us to second, TJ.
So at second base, this was actually one of my more difficult positions to fill on FanDuel tonight. That's something I really struggled with. I think somebody, if you're looking to go cheap, that's there is Sheldon Noose batting second for Oakland. It's interesting. I talked about being able to play Lyles, but we have a lot of Oakland players projecting well just because they're so darn cheap. Whit Merrifield at second, I think, is another option. The guys on the GrindersLive show before started to talking a lot about the KC stack they liked quite a bit. So Whit Merrifield, I think, is an option, even though he hasn't been hitting the ball too well. For cash games, I think you're probably looking at somebody like Jorge Polanco in that Minnesota stack, 3,100. But the player in tournaments that I like getting to just because he's expensive and has a crappy lineup position, so nobody plays him, but he still has wildly high upside, is Jazz Chisholm. Okay.
Cheese, agreed?
Yeah, it's a pretty good position, really, for this slate. The four guys that we have projected highest on our Plate IQ projections, Polanco, Merrifield, Marte, and Lau, are also my four favorites. And I go Marte. If there was no weather problem at all, I would have Lau first, Marte second. $500 savings to Marte. I guess I'm going to go Marte, Lau. But I really like both of them.
Okay. Third base.
The one guy on the slate that I might like more than Vlad is Rafael Devers. He's also expensive, but to me is very worth paying for. You can stack around him, but you don't have to. But the cheap stuff here is pretty good too. Donaldson, the Yankees are going to go kind of forgotten. I do kind of like the Yankees as well. Donaldson's 3K, Rendon and Suarez are both 3K. Matt Chapman is interesting because he's not one of the first four Blue Jays, so he probably won't even be popular enough in Blue Jay stacks, and I do kind of like him. The cheap guys, like Taylor Ward's the only guy who's really cheap that I like. Like on DraftKings, we'll find guys like Witt and Urshela extremely cheap, but on FanDuel, I think Taylor Ward is the cheap guy that you would go to if you need it.
TJ?
I agree. Taylor Ward's my top cheap guy there. And then Rendon, I think, is another person you can play there. And if you're want a bit cheaper, Bobby Witt Jr., I think, is another player that you can play there at third. That is in a pretty good spot. But other than that, I'm in the same boat as Cheese. I think Devers, I'm not quite as high on the Boston stack as Cheese is. I think they're in a very good spot, but to me, they're ranked third or fourth as opposed to right up there with Toronto. And but I love Devers. Devers, I think, is a fantastic one-off. And that's what I like about him is I don't love the full stack, but I love the spot that he's in. So I think if you have the money, Devers is your top play. And if you're going cheap, Ward is your top play, but then Bobby Witt Jr. would be your next one.
Okay. Excellent stuff. Shortstop, please, TJ.
So in shortstop, I think like projection wise, Bichette looks good. He hasn't been hitting the ball well this year, but I mean, it's baseball that can turn around at any point. It's been a super small sample size. So Bichette is somebody that is very interesting to play. Talked about Bobby Witt Jr. He's shortstop eligible as well. Correa and Polanco, both for the Twins, both in a similar price tier. Both of them you can play it at shortstop. I actually think I like Polanco a little bit better than Correa. If the nice thing about Polanco is you can play him at second too. So if you want to play them both in a stack, that works. But I actually think I have him a little bit ahead.
Excellent. Cheese.
Yeah, the pricing's real condensed here. You could kind of get whichever guy you like. So I definitely like Bichette the best. And I like Xander Bogaerts second. But again, I totally agree. Both Twins are very solid plays. Wander Franco for Tampa. It's all
Cheese. And let's see, lock for FanDuel is what, 507, 607 rather? Is that right?
Yeah. It's a good time to start a game there at 607. Like someone's like, man, we need to start this game at I don't know, 3:07 in the afternoon, so all those fourth graders don't have to stay up too late to come to our game, and there's no one at the game.
Right.
We got to push the game up. There's weather. We got to bring it up. How about 6 o'clock? Nah, I got an appointment. Can't quite get it then. How about 6:07?
Yeah, nailed it. 6:07.
Okay, so outfield, there's a lot, and it's not super expensive on FanDuel. Soto's the only guy who's kind of expensive. He's third in like the overall power ratings for me behind Vlad and Devers. But those are the three big guys. Springer and Judge, I like a lot. Springer should be the more popular one because of Toronto stacks. And then we run into stuff that like kind of nobody's playing. Like I don't think anyone's playing Houston because Ohtani's pitching. Even if he pitches well, it's probably 5 innings max, and he'll still give up homers with lefty. I like Alvarez and Tucker in tournaments. Jesse Winker is a guy I really like at his FanDuel price. I'm nervous overall that we're starting to see the end of Nelson Cruz. He's been a favorite for 2 decades, but he's still got a little bit left, and 29 is still a little cheap. So I'm still good with him. So with the cheap stuff, so Kyle, should we call him Garlic, or what would you call someone named Kyle, Garlick?
Garlic. It's
there.
French.
You go.
Yeah.
So the 2K price tag is way more useful on DraftKings, but it's here on FanDuel too. And he's hitting fourth. We don't know to what extent they're going to pinch hit. Like he might get pinch hit for in the 5th inning, and he might play the whole game. Like we just haven't seen them enough this year to know what they're going to do. But he's not safe. 1, he's not great. And 2, it's not sure he's going to play the whole game. So like, don't go crazy overboard with him. But he's minimum salary and he's betting cleanup for one of the top teams on the slate.
How is he minimum salary?
Well, he's minimum salary because he's not good and he doesn't play and he's a pinch hit risk.
So then why is he batting cleanup?
Because I think they're planning to pinch hit for him. He sort of, maybe, like they don't even know yet. Like maybe he does. My hunch is that as soon as a righty comes in, he becomes Max Kepler, but we don't know that. Like we haven't seen how they're going to handle this season.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Anything else you want to add there in the outfield or no?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay. We've got like 3 minutes for FanDuel questions, and then we'll talk some DK, but let's dive into some of these FanDuelers. Rodrigue says, TJ, FanDuel single entry, $50 entry, 200 entries, Yankee or Texas stack, and then says, is this unnecessary?
I think Texas is unnecessary. I don't hate the 1 to 4 in the Yankee spot. It's just so cheap at outfield as well. You got Aaron Hicks, 2,500 leading off. So I'd rather Yankees. I think Texas is a little too much.
Okay, great. More FanDuel cash. Cheese, can I go Biggio at second? It gets me everything I want. Am I stupid locking in a guy batting 0 with pinch hit risk? And then he says, well, when I put it that way, it feels as if I am quite stupid.
So I love this question, the way it's phrased, because like everyone would want to look at that and say, yeah, you're being stupid. And yet Kyle Garlick is going to be 40% owned. And it's the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. A guy who is basically nobody, but maybe he hits home run and maybe he gets pinch hit for. I don't mind Biggio at all.
Okay, great. Mlb Dfs is FanDuel cash. TJ, you want Ward and Judge or Rendon Correa?
Ward and Judge by quite a bit.
Excellent. Aside FanDuel cash, 2v2 Cheese, Peralta Witt or Salvi Perez and Kyle Garlick?
I like Salvia enough. I would go that way.
Okay, excellent. We've got like a minute or two until lock here. A couple people typing. We'll let them see if they can get.
None of my bomb plays are in that first game, so we can get to that after lock.
Okay, and this is Spider-Man. Spidey senses.
None of
us
anything is in that first game.
Exactly. And I will say, like, we got over 200 people watching. So if you want Spidey's bombs, we got to get to at least 75 likes first. Because, like, I feel like half should be a good number to shoot for. Yeah. But it's a good day. I haven't been on a show in a while. So if we get 75, Spidey will give a bomb. We get 100. Spidey will give 2.
Okay. I feel like that's easy. That's easy to do. Like you mentioned, that just means half the people, got to hit the like, less than half.
And don't even do it for that. Do it because we got Cheese on here. He's the best baseball mind in the world.
That's
right. Spider-Man is, I thought.
Aside from Spider-Man, yes.
Yeah.
Second to Spider-Man.
Of course. Hey, I saw the new Batman, Cheese. Have you watched the new?
Oh, yeah.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah. I heard the people who are going out of their way to talk about why they didn't like it. You're just trying too hard not to enjoy your own life. Like, it was great.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I'm not really a superhero movie, but Batman.
It's no Dark Knight, but nothing is. So, like, just
same boat. It was my second favorite live action Batman film to Dark Knight.
Yep. All right, JCM's Cheese. Is the Tigers bullpen mostly righties? Are all the pitchers that are listed on Plate HQ the BP guys they have active? I'm reading this horribly. Just asking so I know who has what in regards to lefty or righty arms.
Okay, so I'll have to look and see. So yes, they're all right-handed in the Tigers bullpen. I think that we have everybody listed on Plate IQ. So if they're like, you're not being thrown off by the Tigers. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Like, there are all righties in the Tigers bullpen. So that is correct that you're seeing. And I think in general, we're going to have everything listed there. But yeah, Tigers are a fully right-handed bullpen.
Great. FanDuel GPP, TJ Severino, Devers, Urshela versus Rodon, Ward, Sano.
Probably the second one.
Okay. D-Rock, DKGPP. We'll take it, but we're going to get to DK here in a second. Cheese, DKGPP, Martinez, Urshela, or Devers, Larnach?
I would go with the Devers Larnach side.
Gregorius, why do we need more Batman movies?
Because we're trying to enjoy our lives.
Yeah, because it's so much better than those superhero movies with like people who have magical special powers and just shoot energy beams and are like unbeatable and not defeatable. Batman is a real person, and it's so much better than Superman or any of the other superheroos out there.
TJ loves all the superheroes.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Batman guy, but like he's the world's second most popular superhero for a reason.
I'm with you, Kevin. Like, it's like theoretically it could happen. Like, obviously they go with wildly far-fetched thing. I'm not like, but it's there's no superpowers. Like, there's so much real life to it. Yes. There's so much depth to the character. Some movies bring it out, some movies don't. They could put out a new Batman every month and I would see everyone at least twice for the rest of my life.
I will watch all of them. If you put out a Spider-Man movie, I'm not going to see it. If you put out any Marvel, like 95% of them, I'm not going to see it. I don't care. TJ, I'm sorry.
Look at TJ.
You should watch Moon Knight, though. If you like Batman, watch Moon Knight on Disney Plus.
Okay. Writing it down.
My daughter and I started that yesterday. I have no idea what's going on, but it's interesting.
All right. We'll watch it. Okay. With that out of the way, with lock out of the way there for our sponsor, FanDuel, let's talk a little bit of DK. And let's start at the pitchers. Anything different? You need 2 of them. That's different.
So what's different is you do need a cheap guy in a lot of lineups. You can do, like, Rodon is still the lock button guy. He's not expensive enough. But it's the second 2 guys, Bassett and Gilbert. They're definitely the second 2 guys. It's not super easy to get Rodon plus one of those 2. You can do it in a lot of lineups, but not all of them. So it's some of the same names we mentioned. Like, I think Dane Dunning is the best cheap guy. at 66. I do think you're allowed to play Jose Barrios, even though I like Boston bats. I mean, he's a very good pitcher. He hasn't got there yet this year, but theoretically, he's better talent-wise than 7,300. But I do prefer Dunning. And then we've got these super cheap pitchers in this Twins-Royals game that, like, so Paddock and Lynch, either one of them could put up a negative, but it's not asking much to get like 10 or 12 points. And at 6K, Bassett and Gilbert aren't going to put up 35-point games. So 12 points from a cheap guy is totally fine. So that's basically my cheap pool is Dunning, Paddock, and Lynch.
Okay. TJ, what are you doing over on DK?
On DK, my favorite cheap option is Dunning by far. If I was running lots of lineups, I personally think I would basically just be doing Rodon, Bassett, Dunning, and then sprinkling in a bit of Gilbert and just trying to really condense it on those four. But having said that, I think the only player you're crazy really to play would be Pivetta, and any other pitchers if you're running 150. I don't think it's crazy to play on this slate because the DK slate is quite a bit shorter. And yes, Rodon is amazing, but he's probably going to get 60 to 70% ownership over there. So like if he fails and you're not playing him, you're immediately way ahead of the field. So if I'm playing cash games, I think I'd probably try and get the Rodon Bassett route, just because I think there are ways you can get cheap enough to make that work with solid enough players. And then in tournaments, Rodon Dunning would be my favorite pairing.
And it's really easy to get Rodon Bassett in cash games with the cheap Twins, which is what the optimal build will be.
Yeah. I got a question here, Cheese. I'm giving this one to you. It's kind of a techie question, but I know you're good with lineup HQ. I know you're good with tech. When I think cheese, I think tech. Yeah.
That's correct. Like me and Batman, like right. we have high tech stuff.
Yeah. He says, hey, where are the Tampa Bay Chicago projections on RG? I'm not sure if it's been removed from DK FanDuel, but it's still on the site that I play. It's on the slate, so I imagine we've got projections.
So I don't really understand the question the way it's worded. Like it's not on the DK slate.
So if he switches to FanDuel, would that bring up the projections?
It should still be. I mean, yes, it. Let me just the FanDuel projections are there.
There you go. So probably he's on DK lineup.
But DK, they won't be there because the game's not on the slate. But if you go look at FanDuel, you should have the projections there.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. Okay, let's talk about some of the bats here. Geez, should we go position by position on DK, or should we just sum it up?
We'll do real quick position by position because there's some differences with prices. Catcher, pay for Perez, or you can go cheap and it's good. Like Gary Sanchez is 2,800. He's a really good play. In between them is Varsho. Otherwise, kind of in your stack, I like Kirk and Keeper Ruiz and stuff. But pretty much Perez, Sanchez, and Varsho is the pool here.
Okay, TJ, we're gonna hop, skip, and a jump here. So TJ, I want your first base plays.
So I think you pay up for Vladdy if you're playing any type of single entry or cash. There's so many cheap options there. You can pay up for him. And the fact that he's not the most expensive play on today's slate seems kind of crazy. If you want to go cheap, I think your best option is Miguel Sano. Christian Walker is pretty interesting for tournaments if you're going some type of Arizona stack. And then for a tournament option, low owned, somebody like Brandon Belt, I think is kind of interesting.
Great. Cheese, you want to take us to second base?
I do, in fact.
And by the way, if there's a player that one of you left out that you like at a certain position, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, one more thing at first, feel free, Cheese.
Okay. Really, second base is most of the positions are pretty thin, but like Polanco would be the very obvious cash game play because Whit Merrifield and Ketel Marte are the only guys I like better, and they're quite a bit more expensive. And that's really kind of it. Like those three guys, I do think you can. We had the question about Kevin Biggio on FanDuel. I think you can play him on DK, although you're doing it just for salary, so you may be better off just playing I've never tried to pronounce his name. The guy actually 7th for Toronto, Espinal.
Espinal,
He's 2,300 and more likely to get you something than Biggio. So if you're just trying to save money, I think that's where you go.
I agree. Espinal's cheaper, and he's just, I think at this point, the better hitter than Biggio is.
He's a better real life player for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. TJ, third base.
So third base, if you're paying up, your best option is Devers. But this is, I think, a spot that most people are going to be trying to go cheap. I think the spot where most people is going to go is Gio Urshela, which I think is fine. He's 2,200. He's wildly cheap. But the cheap option I prefer better is Bobby Witt Jr. But I think Devers is far and away the best option at this position. But then you also have like Eugenio Suarez. He's got power. He's pretty cheap. And even somebody as like, I don't like the stack, but even somebody as a one-off like Brad Miller leading off for the Texas, I think there's crazier things you can do than that. But I think your top shot options Devers, and if you're paying down, it's Urshela or Witt, and I like Witt a bit better.
Okay, Cheese, shortstop.
I like the players, but I don't love where they're sitting at price-wise. Like those first 4 guys, Correa, Bichette, Bogart, Seager, they're all right around 5K. The problem is, compared to other positions, the cheap stuff is not good at shortstop either. Like almost every other position has a guy somewhere near 2K who's pretty good. So for that reason, I do want to pay up at shortstop. Even though Bichette feels a little overpriced comparatively, the gap at the position is bigger. So I do like him the most.
All right. That brings us to the outfield. TJ, what do you like?
So with the outfield, I think you got Kyle Garlick, 2K, like we've talked about, 2K, wildly cheap. I think the best pay up option is George Springer. After that would be Juan Soto, paying all the way up. But it's an interesting mix because this is one of those spots that you can go all the way down or you can go all the way up. And I think Springer and Soto are your top options up top. And then down low, I think outside of Garlick, like they're interesting guys you can go to for one-off power, like somebody like a Cole Calhoun, or even though he's batting 8th, or Jock Peterson, or Dalton Varsho in the low 3Ks, people like that. I think those are people you could go to, but not great options. I think I like paying up here a little bit better. The 4K guys that I would be most willing to play would be Alex Verdugo as well as Lourdes Gurriel. But for me, this I think is mostly going to be a pay up spot, with Springer and Soto being my 2 favorites.
Great. Cheese, anything you want to add there in the outfield? I know there's a lot.
He pretty much covered it. I mean, it's the old like barbell pricing, like a couple expensive guys, a couple cheap guys. And I agree, the 2 in the mid tier that I like are Verdugo and Gurriel. So yeah, he pretty much named the guys that I wanted to.
Excellent. He's pretty good. TJ, you're pretty good at this, man.
Hey, thanks guys. I've been watching the Masters for a long time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, for those who are unaware, TJ was just a Rotogrinders member, hanging out with us on the Discord for many years, watching Crunch Times. And I don't know what you did. I don't know who you had to pester enough, but you got your way in here. What did you do? What was that process?
So at around the same time that RG posted out a thing on Twitter for looking for people for news, to post news on Twitter, basically. And that is how I started with RG, but it came at the exact same time as I started doing a lot of winning. I started upping what I was putting in a little bit more, and the winning kept going. I had a 230K NFL day and couple 50-ish K NBA days. So I basically was just posting screenshots and tagging like Devin and Rotogrinders and other people like, hey, get me on some shows, guys.
You're like, this is my resume right here.
Yeah.
Takes
nothing wrong with doing a lot of winning.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, we're really glad to have you here, and you do a great job on air as well. So you got
thank you so much.
The total package. Yeah.
Anything else? And the Rugrats sweatshirt.
And the Rugrats. I mean, you can't beat that.
That's why he's on here, if we're being honest.
That was actually it. We saw that.
This is the headshot I sent, and they saw the sweater and they were like, he's in.
Cheese, anything you want to add here before we close out? Because I would say let's take some questions, but we've taken them all.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being only a 5 gamer on DK, and there's really just not that much to it. So I have nothing to add if there's no other questions.
Okay. Then I think
The last thing I want to talk about for DK is just if you're playing tournaments, like we talk for cash, single entries, lots of stuff like that. All these Minnesota guys are popping because they're so cheap. But if you're playing tournaments, they're going to be incredibly overowned on DK. And that's where I love the Boston stack a lot more than I do on FanDuel because they're picking up a lot less ownership. And I think on DK, you can get crazy with some. We talked about, is Texas too crazy to play on FanDuel? Yes, I think they're too crazy there, but I don't think there's anything wrong with going your Seattle stacks, your Texas stacks, your San Fran stacks, Washington stacks in tournaments on DK.
Okay. All right. Great stuff. I think with that, we can close it on out. So for TJ, for Cheese, and for our wonderful production team, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.